Okay, quick question for you. When you think about the Spanish language, do you imagine it all comes from Spain? You know, paella, flamenco, tapas, matadores, ole! Well, some of the Spanish words you use every single day are actually thousands of years old, and they come from Nahuatl. Nahuatl was spoken mainly by the Nahua peoples, including the Mexica, better known today as the Aztecs. They lived in central Mexico, where their capital, Tenochtitlan, once stood, on the very spot where Mexico City is today. That's right. Words you've probably been using in your Spanish practice are not Spanish. They're Mexican indigenous words that survived for centuries. If you've ever eaten chocolate, guacamole, or tomato, you've already been speaking a little Nahuatl without even realizing it. Hola amigos, Jim here from Spanish and Go, your resource for learning real-world travel Spanish. Today, we're going to explore 10 everyday Spanish words that have their roots in Nahuatl. Along the way, I'll tell you the amazing story of a woman who brought Nahuatl to Google Translate. And at the end, we'll take a quick look at other indigenous languages still alive in Mexico today, because Nahuatl isn't alone. So what exactly is Nahuatl? It's an indigenous language from Mexico, part of the Uro-Aztecan language family. It's been spoken for over 1,000 years, and it was the official language of the Aztec Empire. Back then, it wasn't written with an alphabet like today. The Aztecs used pictographic symbols, colorful images, in books called códices to record history, astronomy, poetry, laws, and even recipes. Nahuatl is still spoken today. You can hear it in Puebla, where I live, Veracruz, Hidalgo, San Luis Potosí, Morelos, Tlaxcala, and even parts of Mexico City. There are over 1.6 million speakers with different accents and regional variations, just like English, Spanish, or actually like most languages. Some words sound almost the same across regions. Others change a little, but the heart of the language remains. Over the centuries, Nahuatl has given Spanish dozens, maybe hundreds of words, especially for foods, plants, and animals that didn't exist in Europe before. Some of those words even traveled into English, like chocolate, tomato, and avocado. So when you use the words chocolate, guacamole, or mezcal, you're already speaking a little Nahuatl. Quick note, I don't speak Nahuatl, if you couldn't tell, but I'll do my best with the pronunciation. I'll use Spanish pronunciation for the Spanish words, but in Nahuatl, keep in mind that the TL sound that is so common in Spanish is pronounced more like a tl, but in Nahuatl, it's pronounced more like a k. It's almost like a T with a breathy sound after it, or even a C. Alright, now that we know a little more about Nahuatl, where it comes from, who speaks it, and how it's still alive today, let's get to the fun part. We're going to look at 10 everyday Spanish words that actually come from Nahuatl. Some of them you might already know, some might be completely new, but all of them have a fascinating story, and for each one, I'll give you a simple Spanish example so you can start using it right away. Let's start with a delicious one.
Número 1. Chocolate.
In Nahuatl, xococ means bitter, and acl means water. The original drink was made from roasted cacao beans, water, and sometimes chili. No sugar. Imagine drinking hot chocolate, but bitter and spicy. That's what Aztec nobles enjoyed. You can say, me gusta el chocolate caliente. I like hot chocolate. Or, el chocolate mexicano es muy rico. Mexican chocolate is delicious. And it sure is. The Aztecs valued cacao beans so much, they used them as money. You could literally buy things with chocolate. And when the Spanish took chocolate to Europe, they sweetened it, but kept the original name almost intact. It's often said that the Aztec Emperor Montezuma II drank a large quantity of chocolate daily. While the exact number varies in different accounts, it's widely reported that he consumed between 50 goblets or pitchers of the frothy bitter chocolate drink each day. This drink was considered a potent elixir and was enjoyed by the elite, including Montezuma and other royalty. While the exact number may be debated, the fact that Montezuma consumed a significant amount of chocolate daily is well documented and highlights its importance in Aztec culture.
Número 2. Tomate.
Before the Spanish arrived, tomatoes were already part of Mesoamerican cooking. Salsas, stews, soups, tomatoes were everywhere. In Nahuatl, tomate referred to the fruit itself. It translates to swelling fruit or fat water fruit. The word is a combination of two Nahuatl words, tomoa, meaning to swell, and ac, meaning water. The name reflects the plump, juicy nature of the fruit. For example, voy a comprar tomates para la ensalada. I'm going to buy tomatoes for the salad. Or, ¿cuántos tomates necesitas para la salsa? How many tomatoes do you need for the salsa? When tomatoes reached Europe, they transformed cooking forever. Fun fact, in Mexico, jitomate usually means red tomato, and tomate can mean green tomato, or the tomatillo, as we tend to call them. And actually here in Mexico, I hear jitomate far more often than tomate because that's usually the one that is used for salsas. Or at least in red salsas, which are my personal favorite.
Número 3. Aguacate.
This one always gets a laugh. In Nahuatl, aguacate means avocado, but it also means testicle because of the shape. Yep, language can be funny like that. We'd say, el guacamole necesita más aguacates. The guacamole needs more avocados. Or, el aguacate todavía no está maduro. The avocado is not ripe yet, but it probably will be in 10 minutes, and then it'll be way too ripe. Avocados were a staple food, full of healthy fats, and the name stuck in Spanish, and even in English.
Número 4. Cacao.
Cacao is the raw seed used to make chocolate. The Aztecs believed it was a gift from the gods. You could say, el cacao es muy importante en la historia de México. Cacao is very important in the history of Mexico. Or, el cacao se usa para hacer chocolate. Cacao is used to make chocolate. From Nahuatl, the word spread to dozens of other languages. Cacao, cacoa, etc.
Número 5. Mezcal.
Mec means maguey plant or agave plant, and iscali means cooked. So mezcali is cooked maguey. Try saying, el mezcal es una bebida mexicana. Mezcal is a Mexican drink. Or, el mezcal tiene un sabor fuerte. Mezcal has a strong flavor. Mezcal has been made for centuries by roasting maguey hearts in underground ovens. It's smoky, strong, and made traditionally in small communities, mainly in the state of Oaxaca, Mexico. And speaking of mezcal and Oaxaca, did you know we actually host Spanish immersion retreats there? During our Oaxaca retreat, we dive much deeper into this topic with a mezcal tasting, cultural activities, and of course, lots of real-world Spanish practice. We also host week-long retreats in Guanajuato City, Mexico City, and Mérida, where you'll spend 7 unforgettable days learning Spanish, exploring culture, and building confidence speaking in real situations. If you'd love to experience Mexico while leveling up your Spanish, check out our immersion retreats at SpanishandGo.com. We'll also leave a link in the description of this video. We hope to see you there.
Número 6.
Chicle, from tzitzikli, a natural gum. Tzitzikli was natural gum from the sapodilla tree, and it's very hard to say in Nahuatl. People chewed it long before modern gum existed. For example, no comas chicle en la clase. Don't chew gum in class. Or, me gusta el chicle de menta. I like mint gum. The name and the idea traveled so far that chicle even entered English. In fact, the famous US chewing gum brand Chiclets first sold in the early 1900s, and it took its name directly from the Spanish word chicle. The brand helped popularize chewing gum worldwide, but its roots go all the way back to the Mayan word tzitzikli, meaning sticky stuff. And that's actually kind of a perfect name for chicle, or chewing gum. Next up, we have my favorite.
Número 7. Guacamole.
From Aguacamole, avocado sauce. This word is basically a recipe. Aguacate, which means avocado, plus mole, which means sauce. We'd say, el guacamole es mi comida favorita. Guacamole is my favorite food, and it sure is. Or you could say, el guacamole va perfecto con totopos. Guacamole goes perfectly with tortilla chips. Over 500 years later, guacamole is still a star of Mexican cuisine. and the name hasn't changed much. Fun fact, in Nahuatl, mole, already means sauce. So when people say mole sauce in English, they're really saying sauce.
Número 8.
Tracuache from Tracuatzin, or opossum. A Cuatzin means opossum, a nocturnal animal common in Mexico. The word Tracuache comes from the Nahuatl Tlacuatzin, little eater of everything, and in Mesoamerican myth, this clever animal even stole fire for humans. You could say, El Tlacuache vive en el bosque. The opossum lives in the forest. Or, vi un Tlacuache anoche. I saw an opossum last night. It's tricky to pronounce, but fun. In some areas, Tracuache is also a playful nickname. Quick heads up, before we get to the last word, I've got a wild modern twist on Nahuatl and a rapid-fire look at other indigenous languages you'll hear in Mexico. Then we'll finish with number 10.
Número 9.
Chapulín, from Chapulín, which means grasshopper. In Nahuatl, Chapulín means grasshopper, but in Mexico, chapulines are also a snack toasted with garlic, lime, and chili. And today, it's both a crunchy snack in central Mexico and the name of Mexico's beloved superhero, El Chapulín Colorado. For example, los chapulines son un plato típico en Oaxaca. Grasshoppers are a typical dish in Oaxaca. Or, ¿quieres probar chapulines? Do you want to try grasshoppers? They're crunchy, full of protein, and part of a tradition that goes back centuries. Here's a little bonus I promised you earlier. Meet Gabriela Salas, a scientist from a village in Hidalgo where only 2 people speak Nahuatl, Gabriela and her mom. She learned from her grandparents, studied AI, and in 2024 worked with Google to bring Nahuatl to Google Translate using a database she built over years. Her dream? A center to protect and teach indigenous languages like Maya, Zapotec, Mixtec, and more. She says, es importante que las niñas estudien para ser más libres. It's important for girls to study so they can be more free. Lightning round. Other indigenous languages you'll hear in Mexico include Maya, which is spoken in Yucatan and Chiapas, Tezaltal and Tzotzil, which is spoken in Chiapas, sorry if I'm butchering that, Mixteco and Zapoteco, spoken in Oaxaca, Otomi, spoken in central Mexico, and there are many more languages spoken in Mexico. Each carries history, sounds, and words that shaped Spanish. I was blown away by the first time I met someone in Mexico, from Mexico, who did not speak Spanish. That was in Chihuahua, where Maya and I took the Chepe train through Chihuahua, and we met the Raramuri people who are from that area. All right, let's wrap the list with
Número 10.
Jakal, from Shakali, house of adobe or straw. In Nahuatl, Sha means sand or earth, and Cali means house. We'd say, El Jakal está en el campo. The adobe house is in the countryside. Or, el jacal es pequeño pero cómodo. The adobe house is small but comfortable. It's a word full of cultural heritage linked to simple and sustainable rural living. So there you have it, 10 Spanish words from Nahuatl, the story of an amazing woman preserving it, and a look at other indigenous languages in Mexico. Which of these words was new for you? Write it in the comments and try to use it in a Spanish sentence. Learning Spanish means learning its history, and sometimes that history is way older than Spanish itself. And remember, el camino es el destino, the journey is the destination, y nos vemos pronto. Adiós!